Alias offers you two very easy ways how to move, rotate, and scale an object. You can either use left, middle, and right mouse button for XYZ, or you can also use the information window and use the properties. You also have the command line where you can enter X, Y, and Z values, but I found actually this to be more labor intensive. The mouse adjustment or putting in the correct value for a certain axis for an object, for me, seems to be faster. So let's create an object. I start with a simple spline, CV. I press my Alt key to temporarily turn on snap for the grid. Click, left mouse button. Right mouse button, I draft up a point, left mouse button, draft along the x-axis, right mouse button along the z-axis. Nothing, object, perfect. Also, always click nothing and object, just to make sure that you are switching out of the past surface or curve creation tool. So let's select this object. If I click on move, left mouse button, I move along the x-axis. Middle mouse button, Y. Right mouse button, Z. And you see actually inside the information window, I have X, Y, and Z. If I want to reset it, I can simply do it this way. If I would like to move this one maybe, let's say 150 millimeters along the x-axis, I can, for example, with the mouse, somewhat approximately preview my position, and then here, for example, fine-tune it. Or maybe just 100. Or just the center. Let's click on rotate. Left mouse button, x-axis. Middle mouse button, y-axis. And right mouse button, the z-axis. So you see I'm rotating or moving the object. I do not rotate, in this case, for example, the spline points right now, so the CV points. And again, also here, I can, for example, adjust these values by hand. Now if I click on scale, you see, left mouse button, right mouse button, middle mouse button. Doesn't really do anything different. It's always just scaling uniformly. I can, however, for example, here type in 1.5. So I scale it along the z-axis by 50%. Or 2, I double the length along the z-axis. Or 0.5, I add half the length to the z-axis. Or 1, keep it the same. Now, I can actually use the other scale tool, which, for example, allows me to scale along certain directions then. So you see left mouse button, x-axis. Middle mouse button doesn't really do anything because this is flat along the y-axis. Or right mouse button, I scale along the z-axis. And again, move, rotate, and scale are always based on where the pivot point is. If I set the pivot point to here and click rotate and then right mouse button, I scale along that pivot point. If I reset the pivot point maybe to this control vertex and go to rotate, left mouse button, you see that's where I scale along. Now, one unique thing is actually if you double click the rotate, you see global, local, and vector. Let's double click move. global and local. Let's turn this one on. Go. And you will see then there's actually an XYZ widget positioned. This tells me now, for example, if I press right mouse button, that it moves it along the z-axis, being local. So this object is rotated by 33 degrees, so maybe 45. There you see 45 degree, and the z-axis is rotated. If I press middle mouse button, you see that rotation. If I click on rotate, and let's say local and go, also right mouse button, you see it rotates around the local z-axis. So that's the difference between global and local when you work with the command inside the toolbar. And of course, if I type in 0 here and 0 there, this is just for the object. So local or global does not exist for here. This is more something for the tools. And if you do not want to rotate it along like local, or then you just go back to global.